Since the launch of Among Chassidim podcast by Der Herr, Baruch Hashem, we were able to release an episode every single Sunday to the benefit of many. With Baruch Hashem, thousands of listeners. The feedback is immense. Tishrei is right around the corner. Due to the very busy schedule, we will not be releasing a podcast every Sunday like we usually do. Instead, we have prepared a special interview with Rabbi Yisroel Noach Vogel. Rabbi Yisroel Noach Vogel was zeicha to spend many a Tishrei in the Rebbe's presence. The interview will be split into two. Part one will be the end of Elul, Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, Aseret Yom Tshuva with the Rebbe. Part two will be Sukkos and Simchas Torah with the Rebbe. We hope that through listening to his zichronos, his experiences by the Rebbe, will help us live with the Rebbe this Tishrei. If you've been enjoying this podcast, please like and subscribe so that others can enjoy it as well. In addition, if you've benefited in any way from Among Chassidim podcast and would like to give something back, you can do so today at derher.org/donate. I'm Yossi Kamen. Welcome to Among Chassidim by Der Herr, an ongoing Farbrengen about life as a chassid, our vibrant connection with the Rebbe, and inspired living shaped by the way he teaches us each and every day. This episode has been sponsored Le'ilui Nishmas Reb Aaron ben Reb Shnei Zalman HaKayin Olav Shalom Blosavsky, who passed away this year on Shabbos Vav Elul Tafshin Pei Hey. And it is dedicated by his children, Tehei Nishmasai Tzrura B'Tzrei Hachaim. Bruchim Abbayim. Thank you, Rabbi Vogel, for making the time to have this discussion.
Thank you.
Okay, so as we prepare for the month of Tishrei, I felt it would be appropriate to leave the Olam that is listening to the podcast with basics. And what I mean by basics is Tishrei is the time where one of the primary focuses of Chassidim is Tishrei with the Rebbe, and that everything that entails, and that the experience. And the best way to do that is to speak to Chassidim that have experienced it and know how to give it over. And I think that's very beneficial for me personally and for thousands of people throughout the world. Whether they know that it's beneficial for them or not, maybe this will help in that effort. Mm-hmm. Sounds like a plan.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hashem.
So I think you could, I don't know. I think what we can do is start off just going through in a chronological order. So tonight is Chayel. If I understand correctly, that sort of sets the tone or the beginning of Tishrei. I don't know if you want to start there, you want to start there in Rosh Hashanah, but tell me how you think you want to do this.
I wasn't thinking that much of Chayil actually, but
so we could start at Rosh Hashanah.
Yeah.
Or the Hachanas to that.
Yeah. It's always hard to start.
It also might be helpful. You're the one that's talking, so the context of you, where you're coming from, your first Tishrei, something like that also might be helpful, and a way to get into it, if that makes sense.
Makes sense, but in my case, it doesn't exactly apply.
Okay.
Because the first time I came to the Rebbe, was for Sukkos.
Uh-huh.
And the next year I came for the whole Tishrei.
So how old were you then?
So instead of coming for my bar mitzvah, I came a little later. Most bachrim in my class would come for the bar mitzvah to the Rebbe. Well, didn't work out. I'm not sure why. So I came a year later, and I came for Sukkos.
Your class, you're from London, right?
Yeah, from London. I came for, my father brought me for Sukkot. Shemitz Hashem, this Sukkot was exactly 50 years since I saw the Rebbe for the first time. I would say, in a way, I'm thankful that I didn't grow up in Crown Heights, so I didn't have the experience of seeing the Rebbe the whole time. So the fact that for me it was new, I remember what it was like before I saw the Rebbe, and then I saw the Rebbe the first time. So I had in a sense, an extra impression, and the memories, Baruch Hashem, are quite strong.
Over the years, I've been speaking to people, and I kind of have a mixed message about those that grew up in Crown Heights. Von ein Zeit, what do you mean? It's in the Beiner. They were by the Rebbe. They kind of remember when the first time they saw the Rebbe. What do you mean? They're in 770 all the time, and that's obviously tremendous value. On the other hand, there's a certain level of, I don't know if you want to call it taking it for granted or not appreciating, like you're saying, as much because they can't put their finger on that moment. This is when it came to the Rebbe. This is when it all began.
Right.
And, there's a start and an ending. When you live in Crown Heights, it's like, this is how I was born. This is how life's going to go. And, without having that. So I guess that's what you're saying.
Even more than that, I would say, L'mashal, Simchas Torah. Baruch Hashem was 10 Simchas Torahs by the Rebbe. So remembering what Simchas Torah was like before that.
Right.
How unimaginable it is. In Mitzvah, when we get there, when we get Simchas Torah, describe that a little more. But that difference from before and after is a major. So
when you came to the Rebbe Rosh Hashanah, you came right before Rosh Hashanah?
When I came, usually I came right before Rosh Hashanah. Okay,
so maybe let's start with
Slichas. Which I remember. Tashel Lamed Zayin. So I came after Shabbos. So we flew on Sunday, a group of English boys together. And I remember the Rebbe coming into Slichas. In my mind, this is what it seemed to me when the Rebbe came in to Slichas, 7 o'clock. As the Rebbe walked in, was it 7 o'clock? So the Rebbe seemed to be quite serious. You're not talking about the Shabbos, you're talking about... No, I'm talking about the weekdays, Monday morning. And it seemed to me like the Rebbe was very serious. And when the Rebbe went out, the Rebbe's face was a little more relaxed, which reminded me of the story of the Batitsheva, whatever. I'm saying the whole... you look at the Rebbe like... sometimes try and translate or put in things which you connect from other places. That's the nature sometimes. But I'm remembering the Slichas and the days of Slichas went right up to after Slichas. So Slichas took around half hour, just under. And immediately there was a minyan for Shachris upstairs in the small zal. And 8 o'clock, the Rebbe came in for Kriyas HaTorah. Instead of a usual day, the Rebbe would come in 10 o'clock for Kriyas HaTorah. The Rebbe came in 8 o'clock.
It was a special minyan for the days of Slichas, or because there's no
Shachris, because of, I don't know, because of Slichas, Shachris was earlier. So instead of the yeshiva minyan being at 9:30, whatever it was, they started the minyan like, 7:30?
Right.
7:30, 20 to 8.
After Memches, I don't think it was like that. I think Shachris is right.
Memches, everything changed.
Everything was, it was 10, I believe.
Yeah. Memches, everything changed. I'm saying what happened then. I'm not even sure what happened in later years. But I remember then, 8 o'clock, the Rebbe came into Kriyas HaTorah. There was a whole line of people. To bench Goimel, the Rebbe's minyan. And actually, I reminded myself the very first time I bench Goimel in front of the Rebbe, which was something unbelievable experience. But even though that happened, Yud Gimel Tishrei a year before, Tashel Lamed Vav. So I don't know if you want to go backwards and forwards.
I'll follow the flow. So
if you want to go backwards and forwards.
You could share, I'll follow.
But the very first time I saw the Rebbe, which in a way, I'd like to say, it was printed many years ago in the Hair and its forerunner. So...
And by the way, in this month's Tishrei Der Her, there's a overview of parts of Tishrei, and you're featured in that as well. So whoever is hearing this, make sure to read that. That is Hashem.
Yeah.
So what was printed? That what?
So the Rebbe came in then to Kriyas HaTorah. It was actually the day after Yechidus. It was the last time there was Yechidus between Yom Kippur and Sukkot. And the Rebbe actually came since 12 o'clock then. So it was a minyan just for Kriyas HaTorah. And, the Rebbe has Shlishi as usual. And the Rebbe goes to the side of the Bimah. And there's only two people benching Goimel. One person older, already married, and me. And it's the first time in my life I'm seeing Goimel. And I go over to the Bimah with the Siddur. It's the first time in my life I'm seeing it. And I go over to the Bimah. And I say, HaGoimel. And in the middle, I feel eyes on me. So I made a mistake. I looked up. And believe me, the word Shegmalani is a long word. Where they ever look at me from 3 inches away. I'll never forget the fear, the dread, the pachad. And the Rebbe was like looking at me and seemed, I would say, sharp. Some people say that when you say Hagoyim la Chayovim, so the Rebbe looks at you as if you're a Chayev. So it's like, whatever. I couldn't say the word. I started trembling. The words wasn't coming out. I don't know, 5, 6, 7 times. I don't know. It must have been only a few seconds. And for some reason, I knew I should look back inside the Siddur, but I couldn't take my eyes off the Rebbe. And just looking, it's like, in the end, the Rebbe looked down, and I looked back to the Siddur, Sheg Malami Toiv, and as I stepped back, I understood what Rashi says on the word Miksha, Varka voice of Dollar Don Nakshani, knees are knocking together, push at me, from fright. I never felt something like that. And from then on, I always made sure, don't meet eyes with the Rebbe. Farbrengens is one thing. The Rebbe says that when you're learning, when you're listening to Torah, you should look. But in general, don't look straight into the Rebbe's eyes. It's whatever. Shrekedik. Anyway, that's just remembering Goimel. I mean, the next year I already remember it as I went up. I'm not looking.
Well, as I talk to more people, more Chassidim, and among Chassidim podcast, I start to see different. I've been talking to Chassidim my whole life, but in this formal way, I've been seeing certain threads that I see across many people, and one of the things I've heard from many is this sentiment that you're describing of being in the Rebbe's presence, the emes hamelech and the pachad of the way the way people feel.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm imagining you heard this from someone before, or this you came in with an empty slate, and this is what you felt.
I'm not sure. At this point, I can't remember if I heard from people that they were afraid or not. I'm not sure. But I definitely felt it. I mean, this is...
Yeah.
Although the same night, by Yud Tishrei Farbrengen, and I'm jumping ahead, but it's the first time I was by Farbrengen. And the Rebbe came in, first the Rebbe said the Maimer, and after the Maimer, somebody gives me L'chaim, says, I say, L'chaim, first time you're here by Farbrengen. So I pick up the cup, the little kelishka, a little bit of wine. But I'm not sure if the Rebbe, I've always been wearing glasses, so, you can't be exactly sure. And is the Rebbe looking at me, or is he looking at someone else? I don't know. And I see the Rebbe nodding in my direction. I wasn't sure it's me, so I'm still holding the cup up. So again, I see the Rebbe nod. Again, I'm not sure it's me. Suddenly, the Rebbe gave a smile. And then, I suddenly felt that it was to me. Of course, everybody looks around, who's the Rebbe smiling at? But it's two opposites in the same day.
Right.
Here's the fear, the ema, and here was the smile. But it's the only time the Rebbe smiled to me. It was different times afterwards that, like on Amakim, that I smiled because of something, and the Rebbe immediately switched off the smile, like stopped smiling immediately. Mm-hmm. Just to prove to me, I guess, that he's not smiling to me, which they say is better. A smile is a kiruv.
The chassid
you don't want
is not looking for a kiruv.
You don't want the smile. Anyway, went off track a little bit.
So let's go back to Yimei HaSlichas. That's
Anyway,
what
so I
we're
was saying that, again, it was Shachris, or Slichas, something. I can't remember exactly, I'm not going to say now what exactly happened. Slichas. What was there was no Farbrengens in the beginning. I'm saying a whole week of Slichas. That year, Rosh Hashanah was Shabbos. So it was partially 1 week of Slichas. So Monday, Tuesday, one of the days, Tuesday, Wednesday, I can't remember which day, there was a Sicha to the ladies. So I heard once that the Bachrim go upstairs to the Weiber Shul when all the ladies in the shul, the Rebbe speaks for them. The Bachrim go to Weiber Shul. Later I was told you shouldn't do that. Whatever. I did it. Actually, interesting note, I found later a sefer about the Chafetz Chaim, drashos of the Chafetz Chaim, and it says over there what the Chafetz Chaim spoke when the ladies were in the shul and the men were in the Weiber Shul. So just it's not only in Lubavitch.
There's precedent for that.
Yeah. But I remember going into the Weiber Shul, look down, I see the Rebbe speaking. And then Erev Rosh Hashanah was Farbrengens. I'm not going to dwell on it too much right now. That particular Farbrengens, I don't remember right now.
And also,
too much.
The article that I mentioned in the Deher this month is specifically about that, about
the
that and Vav Tishrei and Erev Sukkos. So there's a lot to read over there about those 3 dates. So I guess now we're holding Erev Rosh Hashanah by day.
So, yeah, Erev Rosh Hashanah. I remember also that Slichas and then run out. There's buses to the oil. Everybody's busy. Erev Rosh Hashanah, one of those days you're very busy. You have to get to the oil, you have to get back. Buses to the oil.
Those were the days that people went to the oil. Erev Rosh Hashanah.
Erev Rosh Hashanah, Yitzhak, yeah. So there was buses outside and, like vans more. And took a van to the oil. We got to the oil, he says, you have half hour.
You're skipping also Ataras Nedarim.
Ataras Nedarim, true. Yeah, so Shachris is down with the Rebbe. One of the few days that the Rebbe would come out to the minyan, and you'd see the Rebbe with a Talis and film. Talis, the Rebbe always came out to Davening, to the minyan,
Shabbos.
With Shabbos and Yontif, and even Chol Hamoed. But to see the Rebbe actually with film was, I think, 5-6 days a year.
In those years, yeah.
In those years, just when the Rebbe had Yartzeit, Vav Tishrei, Chafav, and Yitzhak. And Purim, Tisha B'Av by Mincha, and the Rebbe always came out to Mincha, but here the Rebbe came out with film.
By the Rabbeim, they didn't daven with a minyan. By the Rabbi Seinu. The Chiddush is that the Rebbe davened every day Mincha Ma'ariv with a minyan.
I'm not sure if that's the Chiddush. I saw a letter from the Magid to his son, the Rav Rama Malach, that he should daven by himself, Shachris. If I remember correctly.
Yeah.
So that's an haga for the Rabbi Seinu. But here the Rebbe came out, and Erev Rosh Hashanah, Erev Yom Kippur were also one of those days that the Rebbe would come out and down with the minyan. Just by the way, till Memches, the official time for the weekday davening was 9:30, not 10 o'clock. That changed in Memches.
Because that's the minyan of the Bachrim.
That's the minyan of the Bachrim. So even though the Rebbe davened downstairs, the minyan was 9:30. So Rebbe came out and told us the film. I remember actually Rabbi Chaikin was my teacher. He said before Shachris, he says, climb over the benches, make sure you get close, otherwise you won't hear anything, the Ataras Nedarim. But I was not used to it, so I didn't climb over, and I hardly heard anything then. Later years I did hear. I remember the Mashal Tashim Mem, which was actually the end of Shemitah. And that time I remember hearing well.
The Prusbul.
Yeah, the Ataras Nedarim and the Prusbul.
And the Rebbe had a special niggin for Ataras Nedarim.
Yeah, it was more like a davening.
Like a davening,
davening type of nusach, yeah. There's recordings around from different years, even from the Chofs, there's recordings already.
Yeah.
But then I noticed, I wrote down my shtickle diary that time. So the Rebbe looked at while they were saying Hakali Mutarim Lach, the Rebbe looked at each one of the Zkanim who was on the bench. The Rebbe looked at each one, and then he looked inside the Siddur and didn't look out until the end.
So
after, when he finished, So I pulled out. So what was interesting, that year the Rebbe made a whole sturm about the prusbul, and they printed Zettelach, I'm giving over to a Rav, and Tzach printed. And here the Rebbe did like he always did. He said it Baal Peh. The Rebbe took a zettel from his siddur and said the nusach of the prusbul. He said something like...
What was the sturm that the Rebbe made?
They made a very big sturm that you might try and get as many people as you can to do a prusbul. But also it sounded like the Rebbe wanted to be a star. Uh-huh. So they printed in stars. I probably have a copy somewhere. And they printed like papers. You could cut it up. It was small papers and room for... I can't remember now, Edim or Dayanim, which Dayan you're giving it over to, which Rav. This is very interesting.
She's saying the Rebbe didn't do it like that.
So and the Rebbe didn't do it like that. So it was never done again.
Right.
But that year there was a stur, and people were wondering how's the Rebbe himself going to do it. So
right. Now, in the new Siddurim, they added it in, but it wasn't printed in the Siddurim.
No, Prusbul wasn't added in, no. The Rebbe said something, to my mind, if I remember correctly, it sounded like the Rebbe didn't want to talk with Filnan. He said it in Lashon HaKodesh. And the Agid Nusach HaPrusbul K'meshe Kosov Shochnarach Rabbeinu Hazakin, I think, or something like that.
Did the Rebbe say that?
Yeah, I heard that. I wrote down then what the Rebbe said, exactly what I heard. When the Rebbe finished, so then the Rebbe said, Yashikayach, Ksivach Simoteva, maybe some other words. Generally, the Rebbe would say just a few words, Yashikayach.
Right.
Until Tashinun Beis, which is the only time the Rebbe said the Sicha, right after... Taras and Darim. So after Taras and Darim, then you have to give the Rebbe pan. So it'd be a line, but it would go very, very fast. I think the line for panim is probably the fastest line in Bichlal. So I remember standing outside on the street, all the lines to get to the Rebbe, whatever it was. It was lekach, it was panim, it was, what else could it be? But
dollars.
No, dollars is later. I'm saying in those years, Lulav and Esrog was the longest line. But, always the lines went out into the street. You went a few houses past some 70. But here I realized, went onto the line, wherever it was, 2 houses down, 3 houses down. The line was moving very, very fast. You see in the videos, the Rebbe just takes the panim. Marshal Memalef, you see on the video, there was for every 2 people. So it's each 2 people. But the Rebbe was very, very fast. It would be the fastest line.
But everyone would go.
Yeah. Until Lamates, before Lamates, the Rebbe said he'll take it in 3 days instead of 1 day. To make it easier after Lamates. So you have to explain Lamates, right?
Yeah. After Lamed Ches, because of the Rebbe's health, they did it.
So the Rebbe himself said it in the Sicha.
So from then on, it became over a few days.
Yeah.
Fine. So after Panim,
the
Rebbe went to the Oil, but you were in the middle of saying.
But I remember going.
You were saying that you were told you have a half an hour. So what was that?
No, so I guess I gave the pan, and then immediately I tried to catch a van to the Oil. No, to the van. It said half hour, and it's like, I don't know how long it takes.
Oh, the ride to the Oil.
Yeah, and how long does it take to say Meineloshen? I went inside. It was actually interesting. I was in there, and I have no idea. It's the first time in the Oil. Nobody told me anything, but I realized the place I'm standing has a kind of structure, not very strong. It was before Lamed Ches. There wasn't the house which they built for the Oil then. House,
for the Rebbe.
Cubicle for the which they built for the Rebbe, the cubicle like. Then it was just open. But you see, there's a piece of wood, and I don't know. It had some kind of structure. I suddenly realized to myself, "Wow, this must be the Rebbe's place." So I tried not to mamish use it, and then suddenly I got a push from behind. I looked at our shags behind me. It was like. Okay. Then one thing really impressed me then, which I won't forget. Old Chassid, one of the Rosh Hashivas from Brumois, Rabbi Yosef Goldberg, he was crying his eyes out. I'd never seen it. I'd never seen such a tzir. I mean, his Rebbe, I don't know if he ever met the Frierdiker Rebbe, but he was pushed crying and crying. It really impressed me, such a tzir. I don't know, in the middle, suddenly I hear somebody banging. So I realized the ride is up. So I rushed back.
So you weren't there when the Rebbe...
So I think I saw the Rebbe going to the oil. When I came back, I saw the Rebbe leaving to the oil. And the car was full of people. That was the only time in the year when the Rebbe would go. Rabbi Groner would go into and the Rabbi Kazanovsky.
And Rabbi Chadakov, I think, would also.
It would be full. The Rebbe always sat in the front seat to the oil, and the back seat was full. Just the three of them, probably.
It's also the only time of year that there were people in the oil while the Rebbe, and Yud Shvat also, I think. But the Rebbe didn't always go Yud Shvat later.
From Tashech Hafei, the Rebbe stopped going to the oil.
Yeah, so Rosh Hashanah was a time in the year that people were inside the oil when the Rebbe was there.
When the Rebbe was there, yeah.
The Falakan has a whole thing about it. Lubavitch of Chayaleh, he has a whole write-up. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, he says, why are people there? Because
he
remembers
has
the Rebbe Rashab, they said they should not go there.
Right, he says, by the Rebbe Rashab, no one was in the oil with the Rebbe Rashab.
Right.
In his Bachlal, I think he writes, I haven't seen it in a long time, I think he writes, that's the Seder when the Rebbeim go to the oil. And he says, the fact that people are in the oil when the Rebbe is there, unser Rebbe, says it's not a good thing. And I think he writes, it's only because the Rebbe is a Edeler. So therefore he doesn't tell them not to. But the rest of the year, if the Rebbe was in the oil and someone came, they were told by someone.
In a sense, the Rebbe himself stopped it, because the first year, they say Rabbi Gron would go with, I don't remember Rabbi Chadakov, maybe one or two secretaries, but later the Rebbe told Rabbi Gron he's going to give him work to do in the office, and maybe somebody else also. The Kitzur, they understood that when the Rebbe goes to oil, it's him alone.
Right. So then
even Rabbi Krinsky wouldn't stand in there. He would go in from time to time to check that everything's okay, and sometimes they would give him messages to give over to people.
Right. Rabbi Krinsky would be in the car.
He would be in the car. He would wait in the car and not be in the oil.
Yeah.
And besides that, he would be in the oil the whole time. Besides that, there would be alone in the oil the whole time.
So you never were...
No, I never saw the Rebbe in the oil.
Never there. Rosh Hashanah.
No. Anyway, then, Rosh Hashanah night, I'm trying to remember now exactly. I think they always used to sing Avinu Malkeinu the first night of Rosh Hashanah as the Rebbe came in. There's also
as the Rebbe came in, when the Rebbe
the Rebbe came in, the Rebbe would start banging.
Before Ma'ariv, it starts with Avinu Malkeinu.
Yeah, it starts with Avinu Malkeinu. Or maybe even the Rebbe said, tell him first for a few minutes, and then start with Avinu Malkeinu. It's hard for me to remember, because things change from Tafshim Mem. And that's why I'm not sure. So it could be just Lamed Zayin from when I remember. That I think it took some time. It was Tillim and then Avin Malkeinu. Then the Rebbe Daven Meir. They say that the first night you do all the Rebbeim, they were down for hours, first night Rosh Hashanah. We didn't see that by the Rebbe. But they say, I heard somebody told me that the Rebbe would daven 12 minutes, the first Shemoneh Esrei of the year. So they say, which is, and for the Rebbe, it's long, because we never saw the Rebbe do Tefillah Barichas in public. And I do remember waiting, which was unusual, because usually, and I think the Rebbe answered somebody once, that by davening, you can't be Ma'akav the Kohol, Tirchat Tzibura, so the Rebbe would daven at regular speed, like a regular person. And here I remember waiting the first night of Rosh Hashanah. I probably didn't know how many minutes, but I definitely remember waiting till the Chazan started the next piece. But it was very serious like that. I don't remember there was any singing besides, Avin Malkeinu, the parts of davening which we sing. And that was a Chiddush Tafshim Mem. I don't know if you jump years. I don't know if we'd so to talk about the Yom Tov, that doesn't matter which year.
Exactly.
So Tafshim Mem was a very big Chiddush. And Bechlal, they called it the Freilich Rosh Hashanah. It was a minhagim which didn't usually happen before. So the first night Rosh Hashanah, the Rebbe came in and started Ma'ariv immediately. No Avin Malkeinu, nothing. It was very interesting. And they didn't sing Avin Malkeinu, not Friday night, the first night Rosh Hashanah, not by day, the first day Rosh Hashanah, not even Ma'ariv Matzah Shabbos, which was the second night Rosh Hashanah. They didn't sing Avin Malkeinu. Only before Shachris on the second day. than the song of Avinu Malkeinu before. It became more understandable a year later when the Rebbe said, Shabbos, don't say Avinu Malkeinu. So the Rebbe stopped the Indian even of singing Avinu Malkeinu on Shabbos.
Did that continue? Or I think there was?
Yeah, from then on we didn't sing Avinu Malkeinu on Shabbos.
Why was it called the Freiliche Rosh Hashanah?
It was very, I'll tell you, I'll get to that. But so here, on the first night of Rosh Hashanah, the Rebbe turned around and did something she usually did, only Matzah and Kippur and some Chastera. The Rebbe turned around, Good Yontif. I was like, everybody, as far as I understand, everybody was shocked. For me, it's the second time Rosh Hashanah, I didn't know that much, but it was very unusual. Good Yontif, and then the Rebbe called out, L'shana teva tikaseh v'seichaseh, loud to everybody. I mean, I remember hearing it. It's like, wow, is that the Rebbe? It was like, and then the Rebbe starts, Ata v'chartanu, like, wow, singing in Rosh Hashanah is like a yontif. And every tefillah that year, the Rebbe started singing. So it was like, I even wrote down in my diary that first night of Rosh Hashanah, we were dancing for a half hour after the Rebbe left, because the Rebbe should start a niggin on Rosh Hashanah, very unusual. And had the Hemshech by Geshe Bracha, I'll get to it in a minute. Anyway, I remember, Marshall, the first day of Rosh Hashanah, Haftarah, it was Shabbos, there was no Tkiyas. And they were singing Haftarah about Chana, Shmuel. I just remember the Lamed Zayin, so as the Rebbe started the words, Chano Lomez Sivki, Chana, why are you crying? And I remember, it's my mind, because as the Rebbe said those words, he started crying. That's why I remember it. That's why I remember which words exactly the Rebbe started crying. So, Lomez Sivki, why are you crying? The Rebbe starts crying. But, and that was the first day. The second day, he didn't cry, even though it was a fourth Tkiyas, whatever. Tashimem, he didn't cry the first day. It's like, I'm saying it was a more upbeat Rosh Hashanah. But that was all, basically, there was the first day of Rosh Hashanah. I mean, you say Tehillim, but there's nothing really nothing happening, no Tashlich the first day.
When it's on Shabbos, yeah.
When it's on Shabbos. I was there Rosh Hashanah 4 times Rosh Hashanah, and 3 of them were Shabbos. Yeah. So I heard the least amount of Tkiyas. So again, by night, Tashimem, there's again no Avinu Malkeinu. Basically, the first day, then was the pushing and hopping the places. And
in the morning?
In the morning. I wasn't used to it, whatever. Yeah.
People had different places for Tkiyas.
I guess people had sort of Mekayim Skuin, but you had to be there early. They said if you came after 8 o'clock, you probably didn't have your place. You'd lose it.
So you didn't go Mitzayim in the morning?
I didn't. Well, I was new here anyway. I didn't know.
Right.
Didn't know my way around. I mean, so I went later. When I stood between the crowd, I never had a place with Tkiyas. I saw there was those who wanted to see exactly what the Rebbe does with the shofaris and with the tichelach, the red tichel and the white tichel. I never realized those things. I just remember seeing the first time I was there. Even, I used to the Rebbe speaking when you always hear in the hookups, hear the Rebbe speaking. I grew up with that. But to actually see the Rebbe doing something besides talking, in a sense, working, I would say, blowing shofar, even being chazan of sorts. Okay, Vav Tishrei, the Rebbe Davening for the Amid. This is even Rosh Hashanah. Before I hadn't heard the Rebbe Davening for the Amid yet. And they were saying the psukim, and then the whole seder, throwing the talis over his head, covering the packages of the panim. And later years I realized that people always medayik how many packets there were, if there's 3 or 4. There's usually not too much more than that. And they would put the talis over and cover the packages of panim, which they still argue about till today, if it was the panim and if it was the panim of Erev Rosh Hashanah, people backwards and forwards. Most people tie it was the panim from Erev Rosh Hashanah. Some people say it was the panim which came from out of town, not the ones that have been received on Erev Rosh Hashanah. Who knows? Whatever it was packages. Oh, actually, when the Rebbe was going, the second day of Rosh Hashanah, the Rebbe said Kaddish for the Rebbe's Shena, for the third daughter of the Frierdiker Rebbe, who was murdered in Treblinka. So whenever the Rebbe would say Kaddish, he would say run, but go very, very fast to the Bimah. The Rebbe stayed on his place till the end of Kriyas HaTorah. But as soon as Kriya was over, immediately, I guess Tirchat Tzibura maybe, the Rebbe would go very, very fast to the Bimah to say Kaddish. So I remember, Rabbi Yamin Klein or Leibel Groner just like running behind the Rebbe with the packages of the panim. They had to really like run to keep up. And they went up there, we said Kaddish. And then they called the Rebbe up, so the Rebbe was already on the Bimah when they called him up for Haftarah. So after Kriyas HaTorah, they put the panim up there. There's something interesting which happened, Tashim Mem Dalad. That was probably the first day of Rosh Hashanah. Then Rosh Hashanah is Thursday, Friday. So, I guess some people from the side, I would call them the Farbrengen Bimah. People would stand wherever they could, and, on benches, tables, make sort of, not really, a kind of pyramid. And they wanted nobody to block. So somebody tied a chair to the, what do you call the sticks of the Bimah. The Bimah platform has these.
Which Bimah? You're talking about the Rebbe's
the
Farbrengen
Kriyas HaTorah Bimah.
Okay.
So the platform itself has like walls, has a piece of wood, the way it's built.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a wall, it's just pieces of wood. And they tied a chair inside so that nobody should stand right next to the Bimah. I don't know who did it when it was done, because I didn't notice it during Kriyas HaTorah. But seemingly the Rebbe wanted the Rebbe...
What's wrong with standing next to the Bimah?
No, because the people are being blocked, people on that side.
So this is a different Bimah, this is a lower Bimah.
No. Kriyas HaTorah Bimah. The Kiyos, the Rebbe would blow by the Kriyas HaTorah Bimah.
Okay.
So the Rebbe's there, so two people, whoever had Hagbah, holding the Sefer Torah. And for the Kiyos, they would stand up and be right next to the Rebbe. In later years, people realized that the Rebbe was saying, the second day of Rosh Hashanah, the Rebbe would say Yizkar. The Rebbe spoke about that in Vav Tishrei, Tashmem Gimel. The first time he was in Megala, that minhagim. So I heard from, I don't say names or whatever. No, it doesn't matter. It's I heard from Rabbi Yisroel Noach, the one year the Rebbe, from under the talus, with his hand, the Rebbe was like feeling out with his left hand. So he said he was behind. He realized that the Rebbe wants to touch something, probably Sefer Torah. So he pushed, guided the guy who's holding the Sefer Torah, should go closer. And the Rebbe held on. And even though his hand was holding the Eitz Chaim, the Rebbe put his hand over this person's hand.
Yes.
So that he wanted to hold the Sefer Torah. He figured later years that probably the Rebbe wanted to say Yizkar. Because whenever the Rebbe would say Yizkar, he would hold the Eitz Chaim of both Sefer Torah. As I say, I never saw the Rebbe during Yizkar. Anyway, so whatever. So let me get back to this thing, Tashmem Dalad. So the Rebbe wanted the Rebbe Chodakov to stand at the side of the Bimah. He tried to get in there, but he can't get there because there's a chair in the way. So he looks, he can't go. So he's standing just outside the Bimah. So the Rebbe looks, he realizes there's a chair in the way. Somebody tried to pick it up, but it was chained. So the Rebbe started to schlep the Bimah.
So you're talking about on the Kriyas HaTorah platform.
Kriyas HaTorah platform.
So someone put a
the
chair
Bimah next to next to the what you call Shulchan HaKriya.
Okay, now I get it. Okay.
So the Rebbe took the Bimah, in other words, the Shulchan HaKriya, and the Rebbe started schlepping it backwards because he wanted the Rebbe Chodko to stand at the side of the Bimah. Bachram behind, who realized the Rebbe was trying to schlep the Bimah himself, so from behind they pushed the Bimah, so the Rebbe shouldn't have to schlep.
Right.
So until they realized, so they called up whoever sent down the key within a minute or two. They opened up the lock and they took the chair away nobody realized till then that the Rebbe actually wants somebody to stand on the side.
Mm-hmm.
There was always makbid for that in Kriyas HaTorah. There should be someone standing on both sides of the bimah. People didn't realize that there was makbid on that by Kriyas HaTorah, by Tkiyas also. And the Rebbe wanted Rebbe Chodakov to stand there. And then the Rebbe would throw, the Mazkirim would put the panim, the packages, onto the bimah, Shulchan HaKriya. And then the Rebbe would throw over his talis, be over the panim also, and then the Rebbe would misbainin, whatever. I think first of all the Rebbe would cover himself. Some say the Rebbe would sing a niggin then. There's a whole machlokes which niggin the Rebbe used to sing. There's a Rosh Hashanah diket Nuah from the Alter Rebbe. Some say that's what the Rebbe would sing, and some say the Rebbe would sing Gimel Nois, the niggin from Baal Shem Tov Magid Alter Rebbe. I don't know, Rabbi Yami Klein, so people, I don't remember if I'm remembering or people told me, it's a little haze, but that he would always go very close and he would claim to hear something. But usually he would hear maybe a little hum. It wouldn't that much. It sounded like they would cry under the talus. Then they would pick up the talus. This would be probably around 5 minutes, something like that. Meanwhile, the whole oil was pushing, but in a sense, you didn't know that once the Rebbe was on the bimah, you didn't realize the pushing that much. Before that, you did, but once the Rebbe was on the bimah, you felt like something higher is going on, It was a himmeldik. And the Rebbe would pick up the talus. Lam natzeyach livnei koirach mizmer. Some people say sometimes the nusach is a little different. Lam natzeyach. But they're basically the same tenuah. And then the whole oilam would start Lam natzeyach. It was like a roar, like a whole oilam is serious. The Rebbe would say quite long, Lafiyar. I remember finishing 7 times Lam natzeyach, and the Rebbe didn't finish yet. It took, I would say, enough time for me to say at least the extra time. So it took longer. The Rebbe would say Lam natzeyach. If I remember correctly, the Rebbe was holding the talus over his eyes, and just his mouth was open, so, not to block the sound, but in other words, his face was basically covered, as you're saying, psukim, a little away, so you should be able to read, but and they said, and then they would say the psukim, mina meitzar. I'm not going to try and say the niggin now, because
you can do it.
No, what I'm going to say is I'm a little confused that people say different years. Those are different.
Whatever you remember, you could say.
Yeah. I remember one of the WhatsApps, actually, Ari Blasovsky, Allah Shalom, just passed away. So he repeated the niggin. He wasn't so medayek in duyukim with the years, just like he said, after being so many years by the Rebbe's Tkiyas, he really was able to repeat it nicely. But basically, in Ameitzar Korosiko Ononi Bamerchavko. It's the nusach of all the psukim. They say that's the niggin from the Rebbe Rashab. And then after the psukim, I think the Rebbe would cover over again. Not for very long, but a few minutes, or I don't know, minute, 2, 3, I don't know. I'm not good at looking at the clock, how long each thing takes, but whatever, not a very long time. And then the Rebbe picked up a talus. I remember one year, the Rebbe put the talus behind his right ear, sometimes behind his left ear, sometimes both. I think sometimes the Rebbe would put the talus, it would be like covering his forehead, but because it's behind the ears, it like pulls the talus tight to his forehead. It was an interesting look. The shofar was covered the whole time since I was holding it, but the minhag is, in Slobavitcher minhag, to cover the shofar during the bracha. We only reveal the shofar when you're actually ready to blow. And then the niggin of the brachas, there was also the niggin from the Rebbe Rashab.
The same niggin?
No, the niggin of the brachas is different.
But it's also from the Rebbe Rashab?
It's also from the Rebbe Rashab. And they say, I saw sich, I think it's Chaf Tash and Chaf Hey. So the Rebbe says that even though the hachanas to tkiyas and so on. I don't remember if the Rebbe said the word psukim, but leading up to tkiyas would be like a merirus, would be like a broken thing. Nevertheless, the brachas of tkiyas themselves, what it was an upbeat tenua, more noita to the area of simcha, which is a very geschmacka beer. What's going on over there?
That's how it is.
Yeah, but it was interesting that there mentions it. And I don't know, whatever, it's in the Sikha. Very interesting. I never saw the Rebbe speaking about that Inyan. So the brachas of the Tkiyah is a different bracha. Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech ha'olam asher kedishanu b'mitzvah yisav etzivanu l'shmaya kol shofar. And the roar of the crowd is was like, it's like so sometimes you see the hisayrus of the kahal, it's like it's very, very strong. And then shechianu is the same niggin. And then there are blows. Some is easier, sometimes harder. Tashim Lamed Zayin, I think it went ganz easy. Tashim Mem was quite hard. From Tashim Lamed Ches, so Rabbi Tenenbaum, who would blow shofar later during Shemon Esrei, he would show. So he was the Makri. I know there were changes over the years. I'm not sure exactly what happened. But from then on, he was the Makri, he was showing. So Rebbe did a Trua instead of a Shvarim, something like that. Tashim Mem was something different. It went harder. I remember especially the Tkiyah Gedolah at the end could be like 4 or 5 times. They were tried again and again, Tkiyah Gedolah. I mean, for a Tkiyah it was Yoitze, but the Rebbe wanted a Tkiyah Gedolah, and it took a few tries. So the Rebbe got till the Tkiyah Gedolah came out. It was like getting cut off in the middle.
The Rebbe would use multiple shofars sometimes, no?
Yeah, but I didn't notice. I didn't see exactly what was happening over there. I can't say. I just remember the yellow shofar, regular color shofar. They say there was a black one. I never noticed it. Again, it wasn't that many times. Now, as the Rebbe would start saying the psukim. Now, generally, when the Rebbe would say the psukim, he would raise his voice from one pasuk to another. But the first time I was there at Tashim Lamed Zayin, there was all 3 psukim in the same tone. Which I remember people told me afterwards it was unusual.
Unusual, yeah.
How's the psukim start?
Ashrei.
The ha'am is very hard to copy. It's very fadreit in the niggin. Ashrei ha'am yidei seruah. It's very Hashem be'panecha yahalechom b'shimcha. There we go up. I'm not remembering now, but then I remember there was said all 3 in a straight, in the same tone. It didn't go higher.
Shimcha
Gilon kol hayim uvetzidchascha yarumu kiseferes uzamei Adam uvirtzein chatarum kaneinu. Then, like it says, from minhagim, everybody says Ashrei together. Because the Velt, the Chazan or the Veltekeah says calls out the first pasuk of Ashrei with the same tone. The tone of the Velt is
what does the Velt
same.
do?
The Veltekeah, he just said 3 psukim loud, and then he says Ashrei also with a special niggin.
We don't do that.
The first pasuk, Ashrei Shusach Adel Chosala.
Interesting.
But
the niggin that the Rebbe used, I mean, it's kind of, it's basically a Veltische Nusach, but with the Rebbe's, different.
It's like Atares, it's the same thing.
Right, yeah.
It's the same, but it's different. The Rebbe has his own way of doing it.
I mean, it's the only one I know. I became in Lubavitch. That became the way everyone does it. But
right.
I heard a recording of Nusach, and it was similar but different, obviously.
Well, Ashrei, the Veltze, I mean, I know here's the place because you want to talk about the Rebbe. Let's leave it without saying then again. Anyway, and then the Rebbe went back to Tkiyas. And those who noticed, the Rebbe would put on the tichel.
Second day.
Second day. And also the Indian of Hachsaras. That's why I said, most time, I was there 4 times, and 3 of them were was Shabbos. I mostly saw the second day only. And the look of Hachsaras Panim, which either I was aware or I wasn't aware, I never saw.
The Rebbe did it by his place.
They said the Rebbe got back to his place, they would turn around and look at everybody. Well, people jumping, The same problem during Musaf, when the Chazan get up to Kairim, both Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. Like somebody told me, if you see everybody jumping, you missed the Rebbe doing Kairim.
Mm-hmm.
So I never saw the Rebbe doing Kairim.
So you didn't have a place ever, Yom Kippur, close enough?
I was close, but I never saw Kairim. I guess I wasn't aware. Similarly, the Rebbe would do it when Chazan started the next piece. I'm not sure by Elena exactly, but on Yom Kippur, V'hakoyanim, as soon as the Chazan would start V'hakoyanim, the Rebbe would already do it right away. Would bend down. I think it's a sikha from Friedrich Rebbe. I saw that the Oilam would everybody do it.
Does it right away.
As soon as the Chazan starts V'hakoyanim. And then they say the Rebbe would stand and look at the Chazan. That's especially on Yom Kippur again, because Koyanim is like the Indian of a Kohen Gadol. So the Kohen Gadol would say, and everybody would look at the Kohen Gadol. So the same Indian, they would watch him do the Kairim. But one thing I did notice, even Tash Lamed Zayin, which is before Lamed Ches, that they would sit down a lot during Davening, which was a little bit unusual, because before that I'd never seen them sitting down during Davening. Before Lamed Ches, they would hardly set Shabbos and Yom Tov, if he did at all.
Even like
during Davening.
Even like by Pesukah de Zimra?
Yeah, most of the time they would stand.
And Rosh Hashanah the Rebbe would sit.
Rosh Hashanah would sit a lot. It was very noticeable to be, for some reason, that once the Rabbi Garner would, bring the chair closer, they should be able to sit. Well, it was helping. Which was another thing I noticed over the years. The first time I was there at Tashalam Advav, when they ever had to get up, they would just stand, take the back of the chair, and almost throw it. I was amazed at the strength. Later started pushing it, and then Rabbi Grona would help, because I guess it was harder for the Rebbe to move the chair. Generally, the Rebbe would stand up when the Aron Kodesh was open, but not always. Sometimes the Rebbe would sit. You don't have to stand up every time the Aron Kodesh is open.
Yeah.
What else? I said it's a Musaf. And one year I was quite close, actually, during Berachas Koyanim. When it came to Berachas Koyanim, so the Rebbe would go off his Davening Bimah and go behind. They brought the Kriyas HaTorah half stender, which are from upstairs. It's a half stender, like a stender on top of the table. Goes on a table,
yeah.
So it goes on a table. So they brought that behind, at the end of at the back of the bimah, and put that there.
So the Rebbe was where the crowd is.
Yeah, the Rebbe's further back, because he's supposed to be facing the Kohanim. Mm-hmm. And the Kohanim would go up onto the bimah, onto the Rebbe's davening bimah. There were loads more Kohanim near the Aron Kodesh, but on the Rebbe's davening bimah it would also be full of Kohanim. And the Rebbe would, there was there, the Rebbe covered himself, covered the talus. And then by Hayom Tamtzenu, so the Rebbe is down on the floor, so it's a lot harder for people to see. But I do remember that one time, and there was I think it was the second day, Rosh Hashanah Tashim Mem Dalet, when I saw that. And there was his head like mamish, They say one of the Chazarim, I think, Zalmanov, he was the one who adapted the words Yom Tamtzenu to the Rebbe's father's niggin. And they say afterwards the Rebbe really thanked him for that. But I remember the Rebbe's head backwards and forwards, very strong, It's anyway, the best chazan, I could say, in those years was Rabbi Weinberg. You heard him clearly, and so most Lubavitchers who know
Nusach
from some 70 know Rabbi Weinberg. Mm-hmm. Yoin Teyam, say, like so it was very, that was very freilich. Then, basically what I'm remembering now from Musaf, Mincha would be, the second day would be upstairs, because before Farbrengen you have to set up downstairs for Farbrengen, so we were down upstairs. And here was the Tashlich just for Farbrengen, so it was very hard. Yeah.
It was hard to know.
No, just, to be by the Rebbe's minyan and to catch a place for Farbrengen, whatever it was, it wasn't easy. Generally, this I heard one of my teachers years before, they say that the Rosh Hashanah, the Rebbe didn't sleep chlal 2 days Rosh Hashanah, so they say the Rebbe's voice was weaker on Rosh Hashanah. Generally, the Rosh Hashanah Farbrengen, in later years it changed, but generally it was Nigunim El Rabbeim, Maimer, another short sicha, usually. Later it changed, the Rebbe started saying more sichas. Especially Tashim Mem Dalad was a very strange happening. It was the first time for years the Rebbe asked that there should be a Paris Mappa. Then the second Rosh Hashanah was Friday. So before the Rebbe came into Farbrengen, so Rabbi Mentlik was explaining the halachas of Paris Mappa. What you have to do, it's not really much to do, but you listen to Kiddush. If you already said Bar Paragafen during the Suda, so you don't say it by Kiddush, you have to cover over the Challah. Whatever the dinim which they gave Paris Mappa, and he was explaining all the dinim. They say, I don't remember when exactly I heard that, but they say that the Rebbe said he has a lot more to speak, a lot more to say, and therefore he wanted the Olam should be Paris Mappa, so Farbrengen could go a little longer. It's not, I can't say I understand that because the Rebbe himself wouldn't be Paris Mappa anyway. Minhag of the Rabbein, not to be Paris Mappa. If you want to look a little bit about that, it's Sicha of Simchas Torah Tashin Dalat. There's a big ha'ara from the Friedrich Rebbe and the Sicha about being Paris Mappa. But generally the Rabbein were makbid not to be Paris Mappa. But the Rebbe wanted the Olam at least should be Paris Mappa. Maybe that gives a longer leeway. I don't know exactly what that means.
The interesting is also that after Memches, the Rebbe did not do that.
Right.
And because that's very simple, because the Rebbe needed to ben shlicht.
That's after Memches.
Yeah,
the only
Memches.
time after was with
Nun
Aleph. But I'll get to that if you want. I'll get to that maybe if I remember. That was Memches. The Rebbe mentions that we stopped doing that in Chabad.
Right. Everyone always asks this.
That's Shabbos Breishis. Right.
Everyone wants to be Paris Mappa and Purim falls out Friday.
I'm wondering if the Rebbe says as a minhag or just we stopped doing it.
Or maybe there's a difference by the Farbrengen as opposed to in your own home, whatever.
I think the words in the Sikha and Lahak, I think it says Shefsiku Linhag Kain B'Chabad, or we stopped doing this. Whatever it was. So this time the Rebbe wanted to be Paris Mappa. So when it came the time to Paris Mappa, so the Rebbe said that who it was, and the old Tolshevsky, the Chazan, Ramat Chaber Tolshevsky, he got up and said Kiddush. I don't know what he was doing, and I don't understand what the mix-up was. There was something going on, and he was getting mixed up between Vaycholu, or I don't know what. I just didn't understand what was going on, and Bachram were laughing, and especially the guests, and the Rebbe was getting upset. And the Rebbe said to him, Imach freilich dem Olam, aber sadav zayin v'gilu b'roda. And for some reason, Rabbi Mentlik wasn't telling him what to do. As if it looked to me like he was afraid to talk in front of the Rebbe. Just something wasn't working out, and the Rebbe was not happy. Most of the Olam, knowing that the Rebbe is not going to eat any challah anyway, the Rebbe was not going to eat after Shkia. He's not Yitzhak from the Kiddush. So most of the Olam did not end up eating. A few people did. But the Rebbe did something then that he never did in such a kvias before or after, which was when by benching, the Rebbe added Harachniyan Chaleinu Shekol Shabbos. And the Rebbe explained himself that because there are people here who ate at Sudas Shabbos, so therefore, since it's a place which, al pi halacha, the hefsek is not so bad, after the fourth bracha, so that's why the Rebbe said Harachniyan Chaleinu. Even though he didn't say Ritzei, because he didn't say Ita Kazayis after Nacht. And then the Rebbe said that the Kosher Bracha he'll give out the next night.
That's the Yom.
Not the Yom Tov.
So there's 2 Farbrengens then.
So, no, not Matzah Yom Tov. Matzah Shabbos. The Rebbe didn't say Matzah Shabbos. Let me recap again. At the end of Farbrengen, the Rebbe said, Morgen, Teiln, Shas, and Aiva Derivin. That's what the Rebbe said. Until then, it was always usual that the Rebbe would give out Kosher Bracha. If Rosh Hashanah was Friday, you're not allowed to drink after benching before Meir, before Kiddush. So the Rebbe would give out Kosher Bracha the next day after Shabbos Shuvah Farbrengen. The Rebbe said in the Zeit von Reiva Derivin. The next day was a regular Shabbos Shuvah Farbrengen, 1:30. And at the end of Farbrengen, the Maskirim took out the kois of wine from yesterday he thought the Rebbe was going to give out, like the Rebbe did till then every time was such a kviyas. Even Tashem Mem Aleph, then there was a thing that people didn't want to go over and trouble the Rebbe to go, after Lamed Ches. So somebody announced, and the Rebbe said, leave the Marash Chair alone and let everybody come to get Kosher Bracha.
I think the Rebbe used a stronger lashon, no?
Yeah, but it depends. It was twice. It was Lamed Ches and Mem Aleph. I'm not going to go into it now, and I wasn't here anyway, so I'm not going to. I'm not going to go into that. But the Rebbe always gave out the Kosher Bracha Shabbos day. I was actually hoping to see that. I want to see the Rebbe giving out Kosher Bracha during the day. But here, the Rebbe surprised everyone, and the Rebbe said there's going to be another Suda, another Farbrengen, before Shkia.
But the Rebbe ever did it? I mean,
that was the first time.
No, the Rebbe ever gave out by day?
Yeah, always. Whenever it was such a kviyas, the Rosh Hashanah was Friday, second day Rosh Hashanah Friday.
The Rebbe gave out
So the Rebbe gave out the Kosher Bracha Shabbos Shuvah day.
Middle of the day?
Yeah.
Okay.
There were other years, I think, that the Rebbe gave out Kosher Bracha on Vav Tishrei. Kosher Bracha for Rosh Hashanah, the Rebbe gave out on Vav Tishrei. I don't remember exactly which year, I've seen it.
I think in the early years, Kosher Bracha happened differently more often.
My Shver said, told me he remembers in the Yuds, such a kviyas the Rebbe would wash, the signal to Rebbe's niggin, the Rebbe would bench, give out Kosher Bracha, and then was the Maimer.
Interesting. Okay, so this is a chiddush that the Rebbe said that there's going to be the Rebbe finished the Farbrengen, so there's going to be a second.
There's going to be another Farbrengen, and there wasn't even enough challah for everybody. No, you weren't ready for it. In fact, the Rebbe sent out matzahs from his room for himself to wash.
So essentially, there were 2 Matzah Rosh Hashanah Farbrengens that year.
Yeah, but from then on, that was the kriyas. Mem Daled, Mem Hey,
until after Mem Ches.
Mem Ches, and Nun Aleph. Nun Aleph, there wasn't the first ring Friday evening.
So there are 3 Farbrengens.
But till then, it happened Mem Daled, and Mem Hey, and Mem Ches.
3 Farbrengens.
Yeah. So it was Farbrengen Friday evening. On Shabbos day, there was 2 Farbrengens. I'm saying that the Rebbe gave out matzahs from his room. They weren't ready for it.
Right.
It was another Farbrengen. And then Kosher Bracha came out, was from the 3 koises. 3 koises, whatever the Rebbe used. There was a Kosher Bracha from Friday, and from Shabbos Shal Shudas time, and also the Rebbe made Havdalah. And it's like 3 times the Rebbe using the kois, and the Rebbe gave a Kosher Bracha from that. The Kosher Bracha was Matzah Shabbos, in that case. Tavshin Mem was a very, how we were time. Tavshin Mem, as I mentioned before, was a very freilich Rosh Hashanah. And the Rebbe started the niggin after each tefillah. Ato Chatano, all 4 times as far as I know. On Rosh Hashanah, first of the Havdalah, if you listen to the recording, it's very upbeat in a tone which the Rebbe never usually uses. Like, that's a beautiful, very upbeat tune on the Havdalah. And the Rebbe made very freilich during Kosher Bracha. I heard from people who went over. I think I didn't go over then. But I heard from people who went over, they say the Rebbe was singing loudly with the Olam.
How much?
It was very freilich. Almost everything. Kosher Bracha wasn't that long then. I think it was about an hour. There was ma'ided almost every niggin, besides Chayal and the Nino. There was ma'ided almost every single niggin. Towards the end, they were singing what's now known as Yom Simchaschem. And in the middle of the Rebbe said they should sing or shrine something Yom Simchaschem.
They were singing the niggin.
They were singing the niggin, and the Rebbe, and the mimer, the Divrei Maskell, the mimer was Yom Simchaschem. So the Rebbe said they should shrine or sing something that they should say Yom Simchaschem. And so the Rebbe wanted them to add the words Yom Simchaschem to the niggin. I started going, the Chazan Telshevsky was there. He didn't used to be for Rosh Hashanah, but from Kosher Bracha he came right away. He had the shul in the Bronx.
He was a Chazan. Yeah.
But he came, Rosh Hashanah, he was there by Kosher Bracha. And he's trying to sing the niggin. It was interesting, it's backwards and forwards, and he was trying to put the words to the song.
I think he had like a machzer. He was like looking at it.
Could be. There's a video, a shtickle video. Yeah. Freiden took a video. And it was interesting because when he started to catch on, and middle of the Rebbe went like this, so the whole Elam started to join in, and then he couldn't hear him, so it wasn't working out very well. In the middle, the Rebbe says to him, by a pisman, it's a firtzach that you say over words. You repeat words like Ula Yerachim, like you say the words, and then you say again Ula Yerachim. So here, the Rebbe says you could add the words, not Ula Yerachim, the Rebbe says you say the words of Yom Simchaschem Adechem, add in those words, and then say words of the pasuk, and say again Yom Simchaschem. Then afterwards,
I don't think that's how it came out.
No, afterwards, Baruch was thinking how it could have worked, but it didn't work that well. And then the Rebbe says to him, "Ihr seid doch a compositor. You're a composer." And it was trying again. In the end, the Rebbe says to him, "Nu, sing a Simchas Torah de Kenigin, und dann machen besser." Something like that.
If you sing a Simchas Torah de Kenigin,
you'll do better. So he started saying, "Ay." The Rebbe put down the kais, and the Rebbe started to ma'ida the niggin. I would say generally the Rebbe's ma'ida, it takes one way, either waving his hand or clapping his hands. But here there was doing all kinds of tenuas. It's such an unbelievable scene. I can't forget it. Even though there's a video, you can see Mamish.
Yeah, there's a whole video of it.
Yeah. No, he's missing on the video. I saw Freiden in the middle of the singing. He had to change his film. He had to change his film. He always had to change a film in the middle of something exciting. But still, he has quite a bit. Though,
when Jem produced that video, they had the narrator says a whole background that Freiden brought these videos to Eretz Yisrael. He would show them, he'd do like a public viewing.
Yeah, I remember he would do that. Yeah.
And he said, they say there that when he showed this video of the Rebbe Me'edid, this like that, Tavshamem, it was like a big, it was 2 years after Lamed Ches, so the Chassidim Eretz Yisrael, they don't know, I mean, it was like, wow, the Rebbe is stronger than ever. It's a very special clip.
Yeah. And that was also like a very freilich Rosh Hashanah. So that was like the culmination. But the Rebbe made so freilich. And Mamish reminded of Simchas Torah, the strength. The Rebbe was ma'ided, the niggin. And just before the Rebbe went out, then the Rebbe gave out to whoever was left Kosher Bracha. It wasn't much, another few minutes. As the Rebbe left with a strong voice today. Like very, very strong. I mean, the audio is there. You have he doesn't have that piece on the video. So afterwards, dancing, I didn't even remember, but I actually found myself dancing in the crowd after the Rebbe left. And so dancing, I don't know how long, but it's a very frail. Anyway, so that was Sunday night. Monday was Sim Gedalia. Generally, I think a fast day, the Rebbe is serious. But Tuesday was a very strange thing. The Rebbe came into Mincha, I would say a half smile on his face, which is unusual. The Rebbe came to Davening, the Rebbe was usually serious. The Rebbe came in like a half smile. It was very interesting. And then after Mincha, the Rebbe turned around, and also the half smile. Who hey, no. Wow, singing in the weekdays. It's not Shabbos after Farbrengens that it would start a niggin, but here, in a weekday after Mincha. And the Rebbe did that Tuesday and Wednesday. After Mincha, the Rebbe turned around and said, Hu Elokeinu. Thursday was off Tishrei, the art site, so the Rebbe was like, I would say, very serious. And I'm just remembering, it's even in the video also, Tashlamet Zayin. Who had the psicha, I think, Rabbi Chodakov had psicha, or maybe Dr. Zellickson. Dr. Zellickson probably had psicha. He took him Sheikh Siftera. It's extremely heavy Siftera. Chas Shalom, he almost dropped it. It was like very hard for him. The Rebbe like caught it from him almost. And the Kesser went crooked. It was like very... So I remember the Rebbe like standing, like gave the Siftera a shake, and the Kesser straightened itself.
While he was holding, while the other person was
holding. No. The Rebbe
grabbed it.
The Rebbe grabbed it from him, Siftera. And then the Rebbe gave a shake, and the Kesser sat down onto the Siftera. It was extremely heavy. After Lamed Ches, they wouldn't let the Rebbe carry the Siftera. And the Rebbe actually stopped giving the Hayra when to use it. The Rebbe said, "You're not listening to me anyway." But they would not. Whenever the Rebbe had the art site, they would not want the Rebbe to schlep the Siftera. It's extremely heavy Siftera. I've tried that. I can't carry it. It's like,
because of that, the Rebbe said, "I'm not giving."
That's what I heard. The Rebbe said, "You're not listening to me anyway," and then he stopped giving a hira when to use it. They continued to use it every year with the Pagra, every special date. They'd use Mashiach Siftera.
So that's when they started giving the Rebbe the Rebbe,
the small Siftera, the Slavita Siftera. Also, a Shabbos which to use Mashiach Siftera, so they would use it also by Mincha and give the Rebbe Aliyah by Mincha. The Rebbe didn't always get Aliyah by Mincha, but because to use the Slavita Siftera from after, so the Rebbe didn't get Aliyah on Mashiach Siftera. So they would lean again by Mincha, Mashiach Siftera, so the Rebbe could get Aliyah on Mashiach Siftera. If they used a different Siftera, Lav Dafka gave the Rebbe Aliyah.
On Shabbos, when they used the Rebbe Siftera, when the Rebbe was Chazen, they did the whole Kriya from the Rebbe, from the small Torah.
From after Lamed Ches.
You say, interesting, okay.
Yeah.
By Mincha, the Mashiach Siftera, okay.
No, I wouldn't say that. If they used Mashiach Siftera by Shachris, used by Mincha. I'm not saying...
But the Rebbe still has to carry it by Mincha.
Right, so they gave the Rebbe a small one. They didn't use Mashiach Siftera. I'm saying if it was a different kind of Shabbos. Whatever, Parsha Chodesh, Parsha Zohar, whatever it was. If they would use Mashiach Siftera by Shachris, so the second Siftera was always the small Siftera. So by Mincha, they would use again Mashiach Siftera. And then the Rebbe should have Aliyah on Mashiach Siftera. Anyways, about Tishrei. Actually, I remember a good friend of mine, Badal Chaim Tevin, he was saying, okay, Yossi Tifferman, and he was standing next to me, Tashlamet Zayin. I don't know what he noticed, but in the middle of Farbrengens of Tishrei, he asks me, does the Rebbe say Maimer on Vav Tishrei? Maybe he noticed the Rebbe was putting on Tichel, I don't know. But I said no, because usually the Rebbe doesn't say a Maimer of Tishrei. And right after that, I see the Rebbe nodding to Rabbi Yisroel to sing the Maimer again. It was a Chiddush that said the Maimer.
Rebbe sang the Maimer that year.
Vav Tishrei Lamed Zayin, Shuva Yisrael. And Shabbos again was a Maimer Shuva Yisrael. Tashimem, they actually didn't know when the Farbrengens Shabbos Shuva would be, because Matzah Shabbos is Erev Yom Kippur. So it's going to be the Kapparot and everything. So the Rebbe's idea that on Friday that Farbrengens is going to be on Shabbos, not Motzei Shabbos. From then on, Tashimim, half the Farbrengens were Shabbos, half Motzei Shabbos, until Shabbos Avarchim Adar, when there was Mediyah from now on, all Farbrengens are back to Shabbos, not Motzei Shabbos. Anyway, Tashlamet Zayin, I actually was in the sukkah when the Rebbe came out for Kapparot. Can't say I saw much, but I remember the Rebbe coming out. Well, our shteitzach was full, it was pushy. I didn't see that much, but
Why did it move later to the front? You don't know? Do you know?
I'm not sure. It was only, I think, 1 year or 2 years.
Yeah.
Non Aleph and base, probably. I don't know. I remember seeing the Rebbe's face, but I'm not sure if I saw the chicken. Yeah, when the Rebbe came out. To shech the Kapparot. I'll make it clear. The Kapparot itself, the Rebbe did in his room. Nobody ever saw that. Even the Skirim were not in there when the Rebbe did it.
Right, I think the chicken was delivered to the Rebbe's room.
Could be.
And then the Rebbe would do it and then come out with it. Yeah, something
I
like that.
don't know exactly. Well, the Rebbe came out holding the chicken. It was always amazing. You see the videos also. The Rebbe holds the chicken. Chicken's perfectly silent. As soon as he gives to the sheichet, it starts squawking. Also, the Rebbe would, as he would shecht, the Rebbe was watching, the Rebbe would give a slight shudder every time as he shechts it. In fact, you can even notice it when the sheichet puts, after you finish shechting, and he puts the chicken into the garbage can, and the chicken's knocking around, and you see the Rebbe's very uncomfortable. And he right away, right after Shechita, he would pluck some feathers and give it to the Rebbe to do the bracha. But he would check the chalaf before and after immediately.
You tell the Rebbe.
Kalmanson. I don't know if he told the Rebbe anything, but he would check the chalaf.
Because that's what he's supposed to do, by the way.
Yeah, before and after.
Yeah.
That's the hither. Rebbe Shemasmid was very much in that. So, and then there was a line for Lekach.
And also the Rebbe, when the Rebbe did Kisei Adam, I tried to look in the videos, it seemed like the Rebbe's doing like Dal Druchis, I don't know, it's one.
Yeah, it just seems to be taken from all sides.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Backwards and forwards. And then they started standing in line for Lekach, which took a long time. Tashlamet Zayin, it's the first time I was here for Yom Kippur. And the Rebbe
So Lekach is after Shachris.
Yeah, they asked the Olam not to take more than one. Not to ask for anyone else. So from then I think that stopped, the asking for someone else. But they gave numbers, and the Rebbe thanked the Vadam Sadar afterwards. Because of the numbers, it became easier.
There's numbers for Lekach?
Yeah, that year anyway.
You got a ticket.
Yeah, a ticket with numbers. You say it went easier, because if you know what number you are, you're less hesitant, you go. So it made it faster for the Rebbe. And the Rebbe would always tilt before Lamed Ches. So the Rebbe would, the tray of cake, loads of trays, would be inside the room. And for every person, the Rebbe would take a piece and give. They would look, take a piece, and give a Shantei Musukah. But each person, they would look at them, and turn into his room, take the pieces, backwards and forwards. They claim, so I heard once a svara, that there was not like a waiter or a server, serving food. But it was a lot easier when later, after Lamed Ches, so the tray's in front of the Rebbe, and the Rebbe was just giving from the tray to the person.
Bedafka like that. The Rebbe,
yeah, it seemed like, the Rebbe's not giving you, he's not a server giving food. He's like,
right.
But Lamed Ches, it became easier.
So they had their tray in front of the Rebbe.
The tray in front of the Rebbe, and the Rebbe gives you a piece, so he doesn't have to turn that much. And so it went to a certain extent, it went faster. So when I always stood in line for Lekach, then you have the two Sudas, then you come back to push for catch a place for the bracha to the Bachrim. Okay, after the bracha downstairs, after Mincha, was a bracha to Anash. They say the Rebbe those years the Rebbe didn't like the microphone. This was years that it went like that to the microphone. Should take it away.
The whole thing changed because it used to be Mam Shabracha.
Used to be a bracha. Mem Beis is the first time was a sicha.
And then it became a sicha and a regular...
And then became a long sicha. Mem Vav, I think, or Mem Zayin.
In the earliest, Rebbe would get on top of the table. No?
Yeah, that's...
pictures of that.
Yeah, there's a video of a Chavav,
It's not a table, whatever, it's higher.
He went up onto something. Yeah, it could be. I heard there was a table. But afterwards, the Rebbe would... It became a sicha. And Mem Vav, I think, was a sicha like over an hour.
Yeah.
In Erev and Kippur. It's like... People barely had time to go run home, eat Sudan seconds, and come back. You want to go to mikveh before Kol Neder again. It was like, but then I remember Lamed Zayin, the bracha. So after the bracha to Anash, so I mean they held the microphone at the side, and as the Rebbe went to the side of the stender, and as he closed his eyes to hear the bracha, then they put the microphone close. He was holding it, whoever it was, Kazan maybe, he was holding it close to the Rebbe, on a stick, so he doesn't have to be close to the Rebbe, And so the bracha, the tone is different. The tone of a bracha is different than a sicha. The Rebbe is still geben, chsima, gemach, chsima, teva. So tshuva ilah, so some tech simcha. I think the Rebbe stressed that many years. Tshuva ilah, tech simcha. And right after that, I ran upstairs to Kavayachal catch a place for the bracha. For the Bachrim. For the Bachrim. So I ran out. And, okay, the Fiarach on time. So they're opening the door a certain time. It was, I think, 15 minutes before Lichbenschen. Because they didn't want too much pushing. It's a whole other story. I'm not going to get into that now. But there was years when the Rebbe complained that the Bachrim pushed for so long that they didn't have time to eat Sudam Afsekes.
Yeah, because the Bachrim were waiting. You're saying Amol was open and people would sit there the whole day. And the Rebbe was not happy about the fact that Bachrim are not eating, but because they were hopping a place. So they made a rule that the door is locked.
Right. So they would open it up like 15 minutes before.
Right. That's that whole thing where everyone stampedes into the room.
Into the Chatzar.
Yeah.
Because Tashim Mem was another thing. So you started using the Chatzar. When the bracha Yom Kippur moved, first it was in the Rebbe's room for the first 9 years, until it became impossible in there. What happened was the light switch went on and off. So Mamish disturbed, so next year went out to get in the Tachten. So there's more room standing there and on the stairs until it moved into the Zal, Tashin Lamed Aleph. So it's like every 10 years they had to make a change because it's impossible. And I just want to describe what it's like, Bachram like when I describe it. Going into the bracha Yom Kippur, Lamed Zayin, and people just coming in and coming in and coming in. And they took out all the furniture. The only piece of furniture which was left was like 2 tables or 4 tables in the, what do you call it, Tzafan side, I would say, next to Maskiris, where the Rebbe came in. So they had the Rebbe stender on top of the tables, put a carpet on top of it also. And they would go up and stand on the tables. Besides that, it was places empty. Only the Bimah, which I think they couldn't take it out.
Chaz Bimah.
No, not just the Amr, the Kristatera Bimah.
It was stuck to the floor?
It was too big to go out of the door. I don't think they could move it. So they put it near the second door, near the Chazan. I think it was there, and guys would stand on there. But besides that, there was empty. And these 6 huge fans. I mean, the air conditioner there was not strong enough for such an island. It's 3 huge fans on both sides. Makes such a noise. But you needed it because to blow the air through. And just places just filling up and filling up and filling up and filling up. And I'm short. So I'm trying to catch my hat. So my hand's like this. And catching my hat. And the place is getting fuller and fuller and fuller. And I feel my hand is like squashing my chest, like it's hurting. I felt like, I don't know, I managed to move it a drop. It's crazy, pushing. It's not pushing, it's just squashed. And the guy right next to me, don't forget, he's not standing in lines. Wherever there's a centimeter of space, there's somebody there. And the guy right next to me, his hands were down. And there's no way he could pick his hands up. And, schwitzing, his glasses just slid off. And they fell down. It doesn't go onto the floor. It dropped down over here. He says, do me a favor, could you put my glasses on? So I'm like, barely able to move my hand, and I pick up his glasses and manage to hook it onto this ear, which is close to me, but I can't reach the other ear. I tried a few times, and it's like, in the end, he said, forget about it, Turkey. There's nothing you can do, It's like your hands are, wherever they're locked. You cannot pick your hands up. It's a squashed. No moving. Then the Rebbe came in. The Rebbe came in. As soon as the Rebbe came in, they unplugged all the fans because you wouldn't be able to hear a word. So they unplugged all the fans. Then it got hot. But whatever, the Rebbe was there. I wasn't able to see anything, but at least I'm in the same room.
You can hear the Rebbe?
Yeah, I could hear. I can't say I caught the bracha because I wasn't used to this type of pushing. It takes a different type of concentration to be able to listen, even though there's pushing. But the words are very interesting. Listen over to the recording afterwards. Uploading the Mashkichim, like the Mashkichim, Mashpia, Marumzich, like the very Bachrim, Avetzat Tefillah. That was the first year the Rebbe allowed a speaker. So they hid the microphone under the stender. There was a speaker in the hall and then maybe in the chutzner. They started using the chutzner. Could hear something.
I think the chutzner was for the younger Bachrim, no?
That started later. Then they pushed the chutzner should be room.
So those years every Bacher was there?
Yeah. That's why I was a young Bacher. I was 15.
So the whole thing
I was in there.
The whole thing that only the older
Only
Bachrim.
after Lamed Chesed started. Then they changed the Seder. So Tasha Mem, when I came, I was in the chutzner outside. It was a disaster. And they're pushing there for an hour before. And even that doesn't help me because I'm not good at pushing. And I found myself on the outskirts. Could not, and also the Rebbe came out very late. Tasha Mem came out, I don't know, maybe 7 minutes, 10 minutes after Lichmenschen. The Rebbe came out very late. And whoever was inside, they disconnected the microphone because they thought it's mamish, it's going to be shkia already. So there's no microphone. The Rebbe spoke louder than usual. The Rebbe heard there's no microphone, no speaker. And the Rebbe spoke louder than usual. I just heard in the chutzner, the hum of the Rebbe's voice. All I remember, at the end I heard, Amen, Keni, Hiratz, and then I heard clearly. Besides that, I couldn't hear a word. But they recorded it. They say whoever held the tape recorder. So he said, the Rebbe finished 2.5 minutes before Shkia. Okay. We'll rely on him. Tape came out, so obviously it was before Shkia. And there's a recording. But you hear the Rebbe crying in the middle of Yerechacha. I was starting one of the Bachrim was screaming. I don't know. It was on top of the roof. Schach. Didn't have schach yet, but the beams were there.
Sukkah.
And he was on top of the beams, and he was like, I don't know what happened. Such screams. So the Rebbe stopped in the middle.
Middle of the sukkah.
In the middle of the rechacha. But after they talking, what's going to happen? But one of the things that came out from then, that they would block the sukkah also, no more than 15 minutes before Lichmenschen. Shouldn't have pushing like that, like it was. Pushing for an hour, it's crazy. Before Yom Tov. Before Yom Kippur, Anyway, that was different. For me, the best was Mem Dalet. I was ready from the age 22, and the kvutza could be in the back room. Cheder Sheni was the best. They took out that window where the Sfarim are, and they put in all the benches from the Zal into the Cheder Sheni, put planks of wood on top of them. So you're standing high. It was on high, I could see so well.
That's interesting. That's the best place.
For me, that was the
Unless
best.
you're mamish in front.
Yeah, for me, that was the best. So I was mamish able to see. And the Rebbe came in, for some reason, I don't know why, they put a microphone in front of the Rebbe. I was like, why are you putting a microphone there? As the Rebbe went up the stairs and he came onto the table, the Rebbe sees a microphone right in front of the stender, and the Rebbe stopped and made at his shoulders. What is this? There's a video of it. And immediately a Bacher came out. And
So what's the problem? Because the Rebbe's Yom Tovdik.
there wasn't Yom Tovdik, but it's for Hesia after Lichtmenschen.
Right. Okay.
So it was so immediately Bacher jumped up and pulled down the microphone. But there was another hidden microphone under the stander. I don't know what he was trying to prove, but whatever. But there's a recording, but I'm saying you shouldn't have done that. Put a microphone there. Anyway. Some years the Rebbe would pull the talus over his face, and some years the Rebbe just left his talus on top, just without putting it down. But he always felt very special, the bracha to the Bachrim. I mean, the Rebbe's misyachas to the Bachrim in a way like... I don't think it was another yachas during the year, dafka to Bachrim, like that. Okay, later, the Yechidus Klolis, that's to Talmidim from outside New York, or outside America.
And in the first year, the Rebbe said, when the Rebbe started it, the premise for doing it is the Rebbe said, Zaytach dem Rebbe's Kinder. Learnedach dem Rebbe's Yeshiva,
Zaytach dem Rebbe's
Kinder. So this is the Rebbe's Kinder.
Yeah.
That's basically what it is.
It was a very, very special feeling for that. And Yom Kippur itself was very peaceful, as they calm, especially the night of Yom Kippur. They had the Nigunim, the thing. Very calming.
Rebbe held the Torah by...
I didn't always see, because after the bracha, I didn't, until I got down, and I didn't see much, but the Rebbe aided Lamed Zayin, which is an interesting thing. It's a separate story, but I probably printed it once, I don't know. Because a few days before Yom Kippur, the Arabs went into Maris Yaakov Avinu. They destroyed the place. I think Rahman Islam, they ripped up 2 Sefer Torah, and they were mamishmi, the Churban. And the Rebbe was very upset about it. They say this was written down with Gershom Ber Jacobson when he went by the Rebbe for Lekach. On Yom Kippur, the Rebbe told him it's still before Lichtmenschen at Yisrael, see if you can get some more details what happened over there. And it seemed to bother the Rebbe very much, and the Rebbe continued to talk about it, both the Leil Shmini Atzeres, and then Simchas Torah by day and Shabbos Breishis. But there was a whole hemshah, but it began in Yom Kippur. The night of Yom Kippur, so after davening you see Tillim. Usually the Rebbe would go out after the Eilam finished Tillim. Here the Rebbe stood maybe half hour after the Eilam finished. Rebbe Chaim Tashkenta was the chazan for Tillim. But after he finished, he didn't go especially fast. But the Rebbe seemed like he was going very slow. Like mamish half hour after the chazan finished, the Rebbe was still saying Tillim. And again, during Yom Kippur day, there's not much happening. The Rebbe didn't even have mafter on the Kippur day.
Yeah, whatever, Shachris.
So so there's nothing much happening during the day.
Shachris HaMusav Yom Kippur is like the lowest key point of Tishrei with the Rebbe.
Yeah, it's still a schmack to be a whole day with the Rebbe. It's not peaceful.
The Rebbe and then the Rebbe did the Kairim a few times. Yeah.
But after, I loved the Nigan Kiona Mecha. There would go, hey,
yeah, there's a certain...
so by this note, there was a,
there's a certain Chabad house that the Eilam and the Chabad house wants to know, what time is Kianu?
But it's I love the way the Rebbe would did that Nigan, especially. Then after the break, or during the break, start hopping places for the march, because that was the highlight. This time, it was in the middle of Ne'ilah, Tashlamet Zayin, and something happened with the kids, I don't know exactly what. And the Rebbe turned and he asked he misunderstood. He thought that the Rebbe wants everybody to leave the area of the Amid. So he screams, Al Zara came from Amid. The Rebbe says, I didn't tell everybody to go away. And then they understood that the kids who were there, they wanted them to come onto the Rebbe's Davening Bimah. So a bunch of kids, maybe 30, 40 kids, exactly. And they stood near the wall. Now, usually when the Rebbe is ma'oided the niggin, so he bangs with his left hand on the stender, so the whole oilam could see. But here, because the kids are standing on the right, so with his left hand, the Rebbe banged on the stender. With the right hand, he turned to the kids. I think it was Hulakenu, but Atwachatano for sure. Right? The Rebbe made to them very strongly with his hand. To the kids, they should sing. And at the end of Sim Shalom, after Chazar Sashatz, the Rebbe asked the Chazan to wait. And the Rebbe asked that all kids under Bar Mitzvah who were able to daven should come to his place. Started a whole humul. And in the back, I was like more near the Kriyas Torah Bimah. So the message didn't get there exactly. I heard it, ala kinder. He started to kids, even before Upshirish, I remember. And on the table, which is blocking the island from pushing too close to the Amid, and Barcham standing on there holding kids. And they have to send them back to the parents because they're one of the only kids who could daven.
Mm-hmm.
And the Rebbe waited, but they say that the Rebbe was then crying. I heard in the name of Rebbe Groner, he never saw the Rebbe crying like that, like 5 minutes, Moshe, sobbing. And one of the kids who was there says he saw the Rebbe crying like that. He started crying. So the Rebbe heard him crying. The Rebbe looked at him and smiled. But after all the kids gathered, started Avinu Volcano. I mean, I would say there wasn't a dry eye in the shul. It was like you could sense something happening. There was Avinu Volcano again and again. As years went on, they would say to sing Avinu Volcano by Ne'ilah over and over.
Mm-hmm.
It was like by the most times like 5 times. By the 5th time, there was throwing himself backwards and forwards. And the island was like this air. And after the volcano, so then the Chazan starts Kaddish and the march. So so here, because all the kids are there, so they were grown, instead of having the kids should push around the Rebbe from all sides, so he pulled the Rebbe's stander all the way to the left. So the kids are near the wall, and they're only on one side of the Rebbe, so because it's... So the chair was right at the edge of the Bimah, closest to the Chazan, and then the Rebbe's stander. I didn't notice this punct, so somebody told me, he said, he put the chair with the back of the chair to the Olam, so that it went like this. He should turn the chair the other way, so the Rebbe should be able to get up on the chair.
Napoleon's March.
Yeah. And it comes to Napoleon's March, and the Rebbe goes like this, his hand on the stender. They should start singing Napoleon. And then they were standing, and they were straightening his talis, straightening. He looked to me like the Rebbe's... It's hard for him to go up, I don't know. It's a long time, it's just straightening his talis, straightening. Finally, the Rebbe put his right hand on the stender, and stepped up onto the chair. And a little bit, the Rebbe waved his hand backwards and forwards a few times, and then it went down. It's like very short. Even though I'd never been there before, it still sounded to me like it was short. Lefierich, what I heard from previous years.
And later,
other years it was a lot longer. Yeah. I mean, I remember later years, I'm not sure what year they started putting the stairs there. It's a lot safer for the Rebbe. They put the stairs, I think, Mem Dalet. Anyway, the Rebbe went up on one of the stairs. I just remember that seer. The Rebbe's, most of the Rebbe's, the talis was covering the Rebbe's face completely. And they would clap, like almost from inside the talis. There was a meridic electricity in the air. It's like the island was like, the march was unbelievable. And I said, this time was short. And I'm not getting to some Torah, but...
No, we're getting there now. So then there's Yom Kippur.
Yom Kippur, there was with the, Yom 3 times. With Samachta. I think it was almost always with Samachta.
And the last few years it was...
By the way, Lamed Zayin was the only time that they made people fast a little longer because of this thing with the kids. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, there was very makbid. They say the Rebbe would have a watch on his stender,
right?
So you shouldn't go over the time.
And the later years, it was Rebbe started singing his father's name. And also the Rebbe would come into mincha with his hat, right?
Yeah, most times. Even though I heard that Memhei, I wasn't there, I was davening by a shliach. I heard that Memhei, the Rebbe actually walked into mincha with the talis, not with the hat. So right after Rebbe reached his place, Rebbe asked the Rebbe Grona, actually can't bring the shlappe. They would call it hittel shlappe.
Shlappe, yeah.
So he said, jetzt? I guess he was thinking, meichem. The Rebbe said, I beg nicht schwer.
Yeah.
They would always say, I beg nicht schwer.
schwer.
They even say some chasteri when the Rebbe was having a heart attack, Leoleno. So the Rebbe said, I beg nicht schwer, can't bring the winkel, jetzt. Not always, I beg nicht schwer.
And then the Rebbe would take the hat off and put it in the drawer and stand there and take it off from my Rebbe.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's differences from the year when the Rebbe put in his hat. Some years the Rebbe did take it off till after the Tilim, after the Ne'ilah, and later years started putting on early. Sometimes even by Kavi.
Put on the hat.
Put on the hat.
And to the Shimis, the thing that I write in the Shimis, this Nakuda that the Frierdiker Rebbe would come into mincha with and he writes shlappe. If I remember correctly, this hanhaga to come in with the shlappe is recorded by the Rebbe in the Shimis, and with that word shlappe.
Could be. But it's interesting in the Rishimis, and the Rebbe spoke about it. One of the Sudas also, that a year which I guess the Rebbe was especially meticulous in writing down the Frierdiker Rebbe's hanhagas, says Asher Volatzin from Ne'ilah. His talis was not on top of his head. So even though in Zmani his Eirus, people Chassidim put the talis on the head, here the Frierdiker Rebbe didn't. The Rebbe says, I didn't know if there was a minhag for Barabim or not, so I didn't write it in the minhagim, but nevertheless it's a...
Right. Then the Rebbe will go upstairs and there'll be Kiddush Levana.
What?
There'll be Kiddush Levana.
Yeah, Kiddush Levana was outside. I remember Kiddush Levana. There's a picture the Rebbe actually wrote on it. The Rebbe was smiling. I don't know exactly what happened. And the Rebbe wrote in the back of the picture, Motzi and Kippur Tashlam Zayin.
That's the one from down.
Could be.
The angle is from down.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. The Rebbe was smiling because of his angle. I don't know
exactly. Yeah,
exactly
there's a story about it. Okay.
But I saw the Ksaviyad on that. Motzi and Kippur.